You know, we live in a world that is just overflowing with promises of quick fixes, right? Productivity hacks, 5-minute morning routines, instant influence. It's so easy to get lost in it all. You try something for a week, maybe two, and then it just fades. But what if the problem isn't the technique? What if it's the foundation? Today, we're going to dive into a book from way back in 1989 that, honestly, is more relevant than ever. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's built on this pretty radical idea that true effectiveness isn't about what you do, it's about who you are. So here's the problem Covey points out. For decades, we've been totally obsessed with what he calls the personality ethic. It's all about how to look successful. It's the tips, the tricks, the image, the quick techniques. And, that's exactly why so much self-help advice just doesn't stick. The older path, the one that really lasts, is the character ethic. This is about the core of who you are, your integrity, your humility, your courage. So the main takeaway is, if you want real, deep, lasting change, you have to work from the inside out. You just can't hack trust. Okay, so before we jump into the habits themselves, we need to really get 2 core ideas that everything else is built on. Seriously, think of this as like the source code for the whole operating system. If you get this right, it changes absolutely everything. First up, we've got this idea of a paradigm. Sounds complicated, right? But it's not. Just think of it as your mental map. It's the lens you see the world through. Now, imagine you're trying to find a specific address in New York City, but the map you're using is actually a map of Chicago. It doesn't matter how hard you work or how positive your attitude is, you are never, ever going to find it. See, most of our biggest problems aren't about our behavior. They're paradigm problems. We're just using the wrong map. And the second big idea is the P/PC balance. And honestly, the best way to get it is through the old fable of the goose and the golden egg. P stands for production. That's the golden eggs, the results you want. And PC stands for production capability. That's the goose, the thing that actually produces those results. Now, if you only focus on getting the eggs, working yourself to the bone, neglecting your health, your relationships, you might get more eggs in the short term, but eventually, you're going to kill the goose. True effectiveness is all about balancing both. All right, so the 7 habits aren't just a random list. They're structured as a journey. And the very first part of that journey is what Covey calls the private victory. This is all about mastering yourself. You see, you have to move from being dependent on others to being truly independent before you can ever hope to achieve anything meaningful with them. This private victory is built on 3 super powerful habits that take us from the inside out. It all starts with being proactive. Then you learn to begin with the end in mind. And finally, you have to put first things first. Let's start with that foundation. Habit 1 is the absolute bedrock. Being proactive means you finally understand that between what happens to you and how you respond to it, there's a space. And in that space is your freedom to choose. See, reactive people get pushed around by their circumstances, but proactive people are driven by their values. They focus all their energy on their circle of influence, the stuff they can actually do something about, and they learn to tune out the noise from their circle of concern. You are the programmer of your life, not the program. So, if you're the programmer, Habit 2 asks a pretty big question. What program are you even writing? This is all about vision. Everything in life is created twice, first as a mental creation and then as a physical one. Covey really pushes you to create a personal mission statement, to really think about what you want people to say about you at the end of your life. Because if you don't have a plan for your own life, you're going to get pulled into somebody else's plan for you, guaranteed. And that leads us right into Habit 3, put first things first. This is the physical creation. This is where the rubber meets the road. And this is where Covey just flips the whole idea of time management on its head. Most of us spend our lives in quadrant 1, constantly putting out fires and dealing with crises. Or we get stuck in quadrant 3, dealing with endless interruptions that feel urgent, but really, they aren't important. Highly effective people, they live in quadrant 2. They focus on what's important, but not urgent. Prevention, planning, building relationships, and doing that deep, meaningful work. So, once you've achieved that self-mastery, once you've won that private victory, you're ready for the next level, the public victory. This isn't about being some lone wolf hero. It's about moving from I can do it to we can do it better together. It's that huge shift from independence to true interdependence. And the whole foundation for this public victory is something called the emotional bank account. I love this metaphor. With every single interaction you have with another person, you are either making a deposit of trust or you're making a withdrawal. It's that simple. And you cannot build effective relationships, you can't achieve any of these public victories on an overdrawn account. So the next 3 habits are all about how to make massive deposits. And how do you make these deposits? Well, it's through the next three habits. You learn to think win-win, you seek first to understand before you try to be understood, and then you get to the creative magic of synergy. Let's see how it all comes together. Habit 4, think win-win, is a complete mindset shift. See, most of us are trained to have a scarcity mentality. We think life is like a fixed pie. If you get a big piece, well, that's just less for me. But effective people have an abundance mentality. They genuinely believe there is plenty out there for everybody. Win-win isn't just about being nice. It's a really courageous search for a solution that benefits everyone involved. But you can't ever get to a win-win without this next habit. And honestly, this might be the toughest one of all. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. As Covey famously said, most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. We're just reloading, right? Waiting for our turn to talk. This habit is about empathic listening, actually trying to see the world through the other person's eyes. When someone feels deeply, truly understood, their defenses come down, and that's when real collaboration can finally start. So when you combine that win-win attitude with deep empathic understanding, you unlock the magic of habit 6, synergy. This is the simple but incredible idea that 1 + 1 can equal 3 or 10 or even 100. This is not about compromise, where 1 + 1 equals 1.5 and everyone leaves a little unhappy. No, this is about valuing the differences between us to create a brand new, third alternative that is way better than anything either of us could have come up with on our own. Okay, so you've got your private victory, you've got your public victory. You're set, right? Well, not quite. How do you keep this whole system running? That brings us to the final and maybe most important habit that makes all the others possible: sharpen the saw. This goes all the way back to that goose and golden egg story. You are the goose. You are your greatest asset. Covey says there are 4 dimensions of your life that need constant renewal. The physical, taking care of your body. The spiritual, connecting with your deepest values. The mental, always learning, reading, expanding your mind. And the social/emotional, investing time and energy into your most important relationships. This isn't selfish. It's the engine that powers absolutely everything else. And that's the thing you really gotta get. This isn't just a to-do list you can check off and be done with. The 7 habits are a holistic, completely integrated framework. They really are an operating system for your life, guiding how you see the world, how you manage yourself, and how you interact with others. So that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? In a world that's always screaming about the next quick fix, the next life hack, what principles are you actually building your life on? What's your operating system?